The person filming the video owns a gasoline car. He was originally planning to switch to an electric car to save on fuel costs, but after seeing this electric car catch fire with his own eyes, he changed his mind. He feels it's better to spend more on fuel to ensure his personal safety. Now, the issue with electric cars isn't just about quality. With the rising costs of various electric car fees, it seems like electric cars have become somewhat a scam.
Now that new energy vehicles are becoming more common, charging fees are also going up. Have you heard? At many highway service stations, charging stations are nearly 3 yuan per kilowatt hour. What does that mean? Well, if you charge 70 kilowatt hours, it will cost you 210 yuan, and that will only get you a little over 300 kilometers. So you're spending 0.6 to 0.7 yuan per kilometer. Now tell me, does a gasoline car like a Corolla or a Sophie cost 0.6 to 0.7 yuan per kilometer? And in winter up north, your range will drop by about 30 to 40%. That means it could end up costing you 0.9 yuan per kilometer. In the end, the cost of driving an electric car is higher than a gasoline car. And with gasoline cars, the faster you drive, the more fuel efficient they are. But with electric cars, there's no saving on electricity at all.
And then there's this electric vehicle owner who's currently charging on the highway and was shocked by the price of electricity at the highway charging station. He said, "I'm charging at a highway service station right now, and it's the first time I realized that charging on the highway is pretty expensive. It's currently between 5 p.m. and 10 p.m., which is a peak time for charging, and right now it's over 2 yuan per kilowatt hour. If I charge 100 kilowatt hours, it's going to cost me more than 200 yuan. Earlier, around 2 p.m., it was still 1.7 yuan, but now it's over 2 yuan. I find that a bit expensive. In fact, since last July, the prices at commercial charging stations for new energy vehicles have been on the rise across many regions of mainland China."
They always say electric cars save on fuel costs when charging, but is it really saving money? I just finished charging, so let me break it down for everyone. Take a look at our bill. This charging session cost nearly 50 yuan, but we only paid 19.51 yuan for electricity, and the service fee was a whopping 30.1 yuan. The range went from less than 32 kilometers to 182 kilometers, so that's like getting 150 kilometers of charge. Based on how I drive, I need to factor in a reduction of about 25%, because the range on electric cars is often overestimated. After that adjustment, I'm left with around 112 kilometers. That means it's costing me 0.44 yuan per kilometer. Do you really think that's saving money?
Generally speaking, the cost of electricity per kilometer for electric cars is lower than gasoline or diesel cars. But back in July last year, several people revealed on the internet that charging pile fees were going up, and in some cases nearly doubling, making the price almost as high as gasoline or diesel cars. Since July 2023 in Zhengzhou, many electric vehicle owners have observed price hikes across nearly all charging station providers in the city. Prices nearly doubled even during the cheapest period, which occurs late at night. For example, on the afternoon of July 7, 2023, Mr. Wang charged his vehicle at the Star Charge charging station on the Outer Business Ring. He used 25.8 kilowatt hours of electricity and spent 13.2 yuan, which came out to an average price of 0.51 yuan per kilowatt hour. By July 18th, at the same station and during the same time period, the price had risen to 0.78 yuan per kilowatt hour, which included the service fee. Other charging providers like eCharge also saw price hikes in Zhengzhou. One electric vehicle owner, for instance, charged 38 kilowatt hours at the eCharge station on Zejing Road on May 13th, 2023. 15.62 yuan was spent at an average price of 0.41 yuan per kilowatt hour. However, by July of the same year, the price at this station had jumped to 0.62 yuan per kilowatt hour, an increase of nearly 50%. Similarly, energy providers like Teld and other brands have also raised their charging prices by over 30% compared to before. Moreover, even with the same charging company but in different areas, the prices can vary at the same time of day, and the rates of increase also differ. Take eCharge as an example. Following the price increase, the highest daily charging rate rose to 1.69 yuan per kilowatt hour. At 2 p.m., e-charge stations in Zhengzhou saw peak prices of 1.69 yuan per kilowatt hour, with the lowest rate being 0.82 yuan per kilowatt hour. This kind of situation exists across almost all charging providers. The gradual rise in commercial charging station prices isn't limited to Zhengzhou. In Shanghai, some people reported a shocking surge in local charging station fees, especially during July 2023. The price at the same charging station during the same time frame surged from 1.15 yuan to 2.15 yuan per kilowatt hour, an 87% increase, making it increasingly unaffordable. And this July, the prices for electric car charging have spiked again. Stations that used to charge just over 1 yuan per kilowatt hour are now charging over 2 yuan per kilowatt hour. Stations that had already increased to over 2 yuan last year have now pushed their rates to nearly 3 yuan per kilowatt hour. The price hikes for charging are really shocking me. It's like it's gone crazy. Just as the electric vehicle market is starting to take off, charging prices are all going up together. Let me show you just how ridiculous these price increases have gotten. Just a few days ago, when I charged my car, it was 1.1 yuan per kilowatt hour. Can you guess how much is it now? 2.06 yuan. It's almost doubled. Due to the price differences between daytime and nighttime charging, some electric vehicle owners looking to save money are left with no choice but to charge late at night. One of those owners who was waiting in line at midnight to charge said, "I've noticed that electric car owners are either night owls or really diligent people. Ever since I found out that charging at night saves me half of what it costs during the day, I've been charging at night. I used to spend over 100 yuan during the day, but at night it only costs 30 to 40 yuan. But then I realized that everyone with an electric car is waiting in line to charge at midnight. The charging stations are most crowded at night. At night it's only 0.78 yuan per kilowatt hour, but during the day it's 1.78 yuan. That's a huge difference. So, is buying an electric car really more convenient or cost-saving? It sure doesn't feel that way. In different cities and with different charging providers, the continuous price hikes across the board have naturally become a hot topic among people online. Some are confused about why charging fees have suddenly and frequently gone up, while others question whether the charging companies have finished their setup and they're now just waiting to collect money from electric vehicle owners. A key factor behind these sharp increases in charging fees is the uneven distribution of charging stations and the issue of structural oversupply. A report from US-based The Wire China mentioned that even though there are a lot of charging stations in cities across mainland China, their usage rates are very low and they face maintenance issues. According to a report from China News in September 2021, as charging stations have increased, new problems have surfaced. Many stations have low daily usage and a high number of slow chargers. Unused or non-functional chargers also appeared throughout the city. Take Shanghai, for example. The average daily usage rate of a single public direct current charger is about 4%, meaning it's only used an hour a day and charges just 50 kilowatt hours. Research fellow Zhang Xiang from the North China University of Technology's Automobile Industry Innovation Research Center believes that the price hikes could be due to operating costs and business challenges behind the scenes. He said that most charging station operators are currently not profitable, except for a few leading companies like Tel that may be making a profit. Almost all other operators are running at a loss. In reality, the vast majority of charging stations in China are operating at a loss, with many relying on government subsidies to stay afloat. When the government begins to reduce subsidies for charging stations, fees will start to rise. In other words, the initial convenience and cost-saving advantages of electric vehicles were illusions created by the government to popularize electric cars and attract consumers by using subsidies. When the government faces financial difficulties or other reasons and stops providing those subsidies, the reality of electric cars will gradually be revealed. New charging stations are being added nationwide, while costs and maintenance fees for idle stations in cities and remote areas are piling up. These expenses are being passed on as service fees and rising electricity prices, and the people bearing the impact of these costs are the electric vehicle owners. Another electric vehicle owner was confused about the high service fees charged by charging stations. He said, "When it comes to electric vehicle charging, I really don't get the service fee. Can anyone explain it to me? Look, I paid 37.66 yuan for electricity, and the service fee was 32.11 yuan. What exactly is this service fee for? These are self-service charging stations, and we're the ones plugging in the chargers ourselves. I don't understand. Can someone explain it? Is this supposed to be for maintaining the charging equipment? It's so expensive, I just can't make sense of it. Online investigations reveal that the charging service fees have been in place since January 1st, 2020. According to national regulations, the charging service fee is adjusted based on market conditions, meaning it fluctuates and isn't fixed. The Beijing Development and Reform Commission announced that starting from June the 1st this year, the charging service fee for electric vehicles will be based on the amount of electricity charged. The maximum fee per kilowatt hour is set at 15% of the highest retail price per liter of 92-octane gasoline in Beijing on that day. This fee is collected by the charging station operators. The explanation for this fee is that the government hopes it will encourage more investment in the construction of charging facilities, thereby promoting the widespread adoption of electric vehicles. In other words, the government wants to promote the expansion of charging stations and new energy vehicles, but it's the electric vehicle owners who are paying the price for it. Currently, at public charging stations in Beijing, electricity costs 0.87 yuan per kilowatt hour. Based on the service fee standard set by the Beijing Development and Reform Commission, with a current price of 6.46 yuan per liter for 92-octane gasoline, operators can charge consumers up to an additional 0.97 yuan per kilowatt hour in service fees. If a charging station charges the maximum rate from June the 1st onwards, consumers can end up paying around 1.8 yuan per kilowatt hour at public charging stations in Beijing. For instance, Fudian Technology charges 0.8 yuan per kilowatt hour in service fees at their charging station at the China Central Place in Beijing. Based on this rate, fully charging a 25 kilowatt electric vehicle would cost 20 yuan, equivalent to $2.8 in service fees alone. If the car is charged daily, the service fees alone could add up to 7,300 yuan or $1,019 a year. This is considered one of the cheaper service fees for charging stations. If the service fee is higher than the electricity cost, like for the woman mentioned at the beginning of the video, the annual service fee could be almost double the electricity cost. You end up paying 3 times the amount of money for only 1 unit of electricity, which really isn't worth it. Beyond Beijing, cities like Nanjing in Jiangsu, Hebei, Shanghai, Foshan in Guangdong, Jiangxi, and others have already announced their standards for charging service fees. In Hefei, the service fee is 1.7 yuan per kilowatt hour, in Hebei it's 1.6 yuan per kilowatt hour, and in Foshan it's 1.2 yuan per kilowatt hour. As of now, charging service fees have been widely implemented across China. In addition to the high service fees, rising electricity costs for electric vehicles are also putting pressure on electric car owners. Many owners have complained online saying that right after they bought an electric car, the charging fees started going up and they felt like they'd been tricked. On top of the rising service and electricity fees, there's also exaggerated advertising, overstated driving ranges, and increasing insurance costs, making electric vehicles seem more and more like a scam. According to reports from Chinese media, there are hidden concerns behind the hype of the new energy vehicle industry. First of all, exaggerated product performance claims happen frequently. Earlier this year, a Shenzhen car owner who purchased a new Volkswagen Magotan GTE told reporters that manufacturers' claim of a 56-kilometer pure electric mode range was completely untrue. The owner said that even when the vehicle is fully charged till it automatically shuts off, the dashboard shows only around 44 kilometers of pure electric range. Regarding this issue, Associate Professor Yang Shengbing at Wuhan University of Technology School of Automotive Engineering mentioned that it's not uncommon for car manufacturers to exaggerate the actual driving range under real-world conditions. This has led to an increase in litigations and disputes in the industry. Before this, a well-known car company was criticized by experts and the industry for making false claims about breakthroughs in battery technology. Some car companies use deceptive language or marketing tactics to make ordinary, widely used technologies seem like groundbreaking advanced innovations. Conservative columnist and former contributor to the Denver Post, David Harsanyi, said the so-called conveniences and technological advances that electric car manufacturers like to boast about in their ads are really just the standard features of gasoline-powered cars today. At best, EVs, if they fulfill their promise, are a lateral technology. Some car companies also frequently experience product malfunctions but shift the blame onto consumers. According to data from the China State Administration for Market Regulation, in 2020, 31.3% of all new energy vehicles recalled were due to defects in their electric power systems. Additionally, data from the Defective Product Administrative Center shows that issues related to power batteries, motors, and electric control systems account for 50% of the defect reports for new energy vehicles. When faced with these issues, some car companies tend to avoid responsibility whenever they can. For instance, for the incident involving broken axles on the Li 1 electric vehicle, the company initially tried to dismiss consumers with claims of hardware optimization upgrades. It was only under public pressure that they admitted to design flaws. In another case involving the same brand, the airbags failed to deploy after a severe collision, and the company responded by saying that the place of impact was not a key point. Currently, beneath the false advertising, the industry is facing an unsustainable surge. Some market analysts argue that the disparity between production capacity and market value indicates that the electric vehicle industry is overinflated in the capital market. Managing Director of China SDIC Fund Management Co. Ltd., Du Shuo, agrees with this view. He said some market players are highly speculative. There aren't many leading companies in the electric vehicle industry, and stocks are the easiest assets to acquire, which can easily lead to an overheated market. Some industry bloggers suggest that the government is driving the momentum for electric vehicles, while certain local governments are blindly competing to attract electric vehicle projects, which further amplifies the exaggerated hype. The government keeps upgrading our engine emission standards. It's actually just setting the pace and leading foreign companies into a trap. New energy vehicles are a pit we dug ourselves. I heard that hydrogen energy is actually the best kind of new energy vehicle, but Japan mastered hydrogen technology back in 2000. If China uses Japanese technology, we'll lose out. We don't have the patents and we would have to pay them. So even though the Chinese government knows hydrogen energy is great, they won't use it. They know producing and manufacturing batteries causes pollution and batteries can even explode, but they still won't use hydrogen technology. China has a huge market with over 1 billion people, and foreign companies that want to make money here have to follow along and make electric cars. So this is really just a money-grabbing scheme. Some local government officials have also revealed that some local governments will agree to any conditions just to bring in a project. In some cases, they've even flattened the land for the car companies. When they see an electric vehicle project, they fight to get it, fast-tracking the approval and screening process because they're afraid of falling behind. The rush by local governments to secure projects indirectly fuels the industry's hype. Without genuine market demand, products can't sell. If the approval and screening processes aren't strict, how can the products meet reliability standards? For consumers, what began as a cost-saving decision with electric vehicles has now led to increasing expenses, including high purchase costs, overpriced insurance, and having to cover repairs when car companies shift the blame for quality issues. On top of that, electricity and service fees continue to rise. When you add it all up, buying a gasoline car seems like the better deal. The so-called money-saving electric vehicle has turned into a major scam.